Hey guys, we're back with the next part of Sryth, our fantasy text-based RPG. I just got Shadow Magic last episode, and so instead of finishing that Proving Grounds, because I sort of wanted to go through all the Proving Grounds before I go to Proving Ground 5, but I also really wanted Shadow Magic. Um, but we got it. We got the Shadow Magic, so we left those Proving Grounds, and we're going to start back at Hawklore and do some of the quests here, starting from this sort of, I guess, is the beginning of the game, because that's where you're headed. When you first start the game, you're on your way to Hawklore, so I want to do that and get started at the beginning of the game, even though I'm super OP'd now. Uh, but yeah, let's do that. First, I want to do is go to the blue door, get my magic from my Quickstone daily experience, or get my experience. Yeah, I'll take it. And then we're just gonna go pretty much top to bottom and see what's up. Seek out the source of a strange hum. Following the odd hum, you make your way to the clearing in the outskirts of the village center. There, in the center of the open swath, stands a strange arch constructed of large raven-bone bricks. The towering arch constructed of large raven-bone bricks stands in the center of the small clearing at the edge of the village. An inky void fills the curved space beneath the arch. You cross the clearing, and standing directly before the arch within arm reach, the black void that fills the curved space formed by the structure, emblazoned on one of the raven-bone blocks is the left side of the arch, a flow glowing red marks, each in the shape of an axe. Toward the top of the arch, one of the brick bears a trio of engraved skulls. Beneath the three skulls is a faint and intricate carving that appears to be depicting, oddly enough, an armor-clad Palobread man. Often when it's written in the bleakest strange tales involving a living Palobread man, Palobread woman, circling the tavern, Palobread dens all across North. Some of the age's most prominent visions have substantiated tales claiming they encountered Palobread men in their travels. It is believed that small abominations, yes, abominations, are the product of dark magic, and that a sinister purpose almost always lies behind the sudden and unexpected appearances. In almost every tale, indeed, in most encounters related by those unfortunate enough to have crossed paths with one armored Palobread man, the diminutive, festively attired confections are described as small, flat, walking pastries with cheerful smiles and murderous hearts. Those who've encountered the Palobread men say the edible abominations, yes, abominations again, are alarmingly swift and agile and prefer to attack their foes, anyone or anything nearby that's not made out of Palobread, by throttling them. Living Palobread men are said to resemble gingerbread men, evil gingerbread men, although since no one anywhere seems to know what a gingerbread man is, the analogy is particularly helpful. If you should ever encounter a living Palobread man, oh goodness forbid, more than one, please be careful. That is, of course, unless they're rare, very nice variety. Who can tell? And while it shouldn't have to be mentioned, if you ever run into a living Palobread man, please don't go around saying that you have. They're few enough who take the threat posed by these edible terrors seriously, without much more false claims to help fester doubts among the non-believers. So it's like a gingerbread man, except evil. And they don't have ginger in this world, so they don't understand that reference. But I'm good with moving away from the cliff and back. And then suddenly, what's happening? As you reach the edge of the clearing, a low rumble rises up from behind you as several powerful tremors surge from the ground, passing directly beneath your feet. You turn to find the towering arch is now but a massive heap of raven bone bricks. What is a raven bone? Extremely rare and valuable mineral known as raven bone is believed to possess many mystical qualities. This highly prized jet black and very dense substance has long been sought by those wishing to employ it in many different capacities. It has been suggested by some that raven bone was used in ages past by great warriors who would drink a mixture made of the mineral that would grant them near invincibility in combat. It is believed that no true deposit of raven bone has been discovered in the last few centuries. Indeed, very little of the precious alchemy mineral is found anywhere. Excuse me. Yeah, we're here. Next to the tall pile clad of a suit of shimmering silver armor brandishing a sword sized perfectly for his diminutive stature stands a Palobread man. The living confection, half his face badly charred, scowls upon catching sight of you. So a burnt Palobread man. Why do you think you're off to? Shrieks, stamping his stubby round foot and waving about his sword in what appears to be a fleeting tantrum. The Palobread man frowns, folds his arms and quickly unfolds them. The prophecy says I will be greeted by a hero, he says, scowling. A champion, a warrior with strength and cunning plenty, must do battle with the evil and the presses at our borders. Even the old tales aren't infallible, it seems. I see now that I haven't been greeted by any such hero. I haven't been greeted at all. Come to that, bah! Great ghastly goots! Simultaneously startled and intrigued and slightly incensed, you step forward and introduce yourself to the armored Palobread man. Your affable greeting seems to immediately quell his simmering rage, and he quickly bows. Ah, well, things are looking up, he says, in his voice and tiny stature comically at odds with his rather fierce demeanor. Maybe the prophecy was correct. You might be able to help us. Just look at you. You're a giant. How could the devourers stand against you? You'd smash them all proper. You would. And you will. Come on. We'd best be off. There isn't time to dally. Not when there are devourers at the gates. Come on. Risking the ear of a small being, you inquire what he has just said. He frowns, shrugs his shoulder, folds his arm. You're not convinced? Well, let me just remedy that. The Palobread man moves towards you, nervously glancing from side to side, and suddenly steps back to stand next to a heap of raven-bound bricks. He swiftly bows and introduces himself as Temeslio. I hail from the grand realm of Akamikalak, he says, a shrill tone edging unhaunted. Last of your folk, since our realm did so over 1,000 years ago, by our reckoning, though perhaps only a few by yours. That time we've attained our frozen wilds and but quite a happy spot for ourselves, all joy and peace and good will and holy merry jolly, if you follow. Then the devourers came. The devourers sniffed us out, said Temeslio. Despite our best efforts to close our scent, they'll eat us all. Every last crumb of every last one of us, unless you stop, horrible foul creatures. Before you finish inquiring about the devourers, Temeslio interrupts, relates you a grand tale of woe involving his home village of Lornpath and the creatures to which he has just alluded. With exaggerated mannerisms and his voice dramatically rising and falling, Temeslio tells you that all about the devourers who have been assailing his home village of Lornpath for the better part of a century. They're like wolves, and they stand on their hind legs, he squeaks, shuddering. They're constantly snarling and growling and also slavering. I think it's the drooling bit that frightens everyone most, because we all know what it is they're drooling over us. They chase us to the four corners of Akamakalak. What? Akamakalak, forcing us to tear down and rebuild Lornpath each time, but no more. We make our stand where the village now sits, or fall trying. Make your stand or fall. The fierce-looking Palobread man swallows hard and momentarily turns his tiny head, seemingly attempting to hold back a flood of emotion. Anyway, he says, at last continuing, the prophecy promised us a great hero, a warrior without equal, who would crush the enemy at our gates and forever ensure the peace and safety of those who call Lornpath home. It is you who heard the humming, and you who approach the arch. You're the one the prophecy spoke of, the only one who can rid us of the vows. You must come with me. Temeslio's small face adopts a pitiful, sad expression. The Palobread man toes the ground with the rounded end of his footless round right leg aside. Please, he says, turning one eye up to you. Still trying to wrap your head around the seeming absurdity of his tale, you somewhat reluctantly agree to help. Hot Palo! Exclaims the tiny confection, leaping several inches off the ground and thrusting his round paw into the air. This devourers aren't going to know what stomped all over them. Suddenly, a look of dire panic washes over Temeslio's face. With no time to delay. Yes, I've been gone too long as it is. Let's go. Come on, follow me. The river of Lornpath is at hand. Temeslio steps around to the far side of the towering heap of bricks, drops to one knee and mutters something. A low pulsing hum fills the air as a large black portal opens a few yards ahead of him. The magical gate is inky cold, trending rapidly, hovers barely an inch off the ground. Follow me into it, says the Palobread man, motioning at you as he strides through the portal. Just a word of warning, I'm never sure where these things will take me, though it is usually close where we're supposed to. Hurry now. Temeslio scurries towards the pulsing gate. You follow closely at his footless heels. Suddenly, Temeslio is within a few feet of the portal when he draws to an abrupt halt. His frozen expression one of abject terror, uncertain sorceress. You rush to recite it, your eyes instinctively following his gaze now unblinkingly trained on the magical gate. A grim snarl rushed from portals, a pair of silhouettes burst from its swirling core. You swiftly draw yourself into the defensive stance and step in front of Meslio as the featureless silhouettes rapidly change form into tall, two-legged, vaguely humanoid wolf creatures. The grey human-like wolves snarl viciously as they creep towards you, long strands of glittering jewel dangling from the edges of their fang-filled jaws. Devourers, have at them! Tilling towels, shrieks Meslio as he bolts past you, sword drawn, and launches himself at the nearest creature in a startling, brutal, well-executed attack. Once we are done, you leap forward and engage in the second of the Devourers. Oh yeah, it's just crazy. Devour clashes to your feet, its grey fur slick with blood, the menacing creature still snarling, making a feeble attempt to clamber to its feet, only to suddenly unleash a ghastly shriek before toppling over, expiring. Meslio, the blade of his small sword, painted a rapidly darkening shade of red, steps out from behind the wolf beast's savage carcass. The Palobread man is missing a chunk of his right shoulder. Hurry, he cries for his shoulder. Follow me. It's not going to stay open for long. Following at Meslio's heels, you rush toward the portal just as the magical gate begins to close. The Palobread man, his sword still drawn, turns and shouts something to you as he hurls himself into the portal. Inky paw, but his words are immediately swallowed by the void into which he has vanished. The only seconds remaining before the gate will be too small to enter. You leap into the vortex of the core of the portal and immediately tumble into a silent, frigid void. Below you, which is above you, Meslio's minted form spins wildly in the distance, separating the two of you rapidly increases. The flood of vivid color suddenly brightens the void, and a surge of heat from all directions momentarily replaces the deadly cold. Meslio tumbles out of control, spins past you on your left and then on your right, and his face frozen in terror. On the second pass, you reach out and attempt to grab hold of him, but the Palobread man twirls away just beyond the tips of your fingers and plummets down into the dazzling abyss of color. The invading colors and surging heat rapidly retreat, replaced by deep, frigid gloom. They fleetingly display. Suddenly, the void around you begins to crack and break into plate-like shards that slowly spin off in all directions. Far away now, little more than a speck of color in a sea of black, you spot Meslio, twirling wild in a small fragment of void in the spin's way out of sight. Your own splinter of this strange reality soars into the opposite direction from that of your Palobread companion. For it feels like hours, though you've lost all sense of time and space. You tumble and spin into the strange angular shard of void as it speeds through the icy and silent darkness. Just when you begin to fear you become trapped in this terrifying reality, the frigid gloom melts away and a hot blast of air rushes past, making it feel as if your skin is about to ignite. With your next breath, you suddenly feel that you're standing on solid ground in surroundings bathed in a bright light of day. The vision is profoundly blurred. Deafening roar coupled by the sharp splintering of stone rises into the air, and the ground beneath your feet buckles, causing you to collapse into a heap. As you slowly regain your feet, your vision begins to clear, and you watch in a mix of horror and amazement the calamitous scene erupting in every direction. You're standing atop a tree-lined knoll overlooking a broad grassy plain that extends halfway into the horizon, where a steep craggy shore meets a raging sea. The sky, a low ceiling of dark grey streaked with red fringed tines of black smoke, is alive with the flash of lightning and the guttural rumble of thunder. As you turn back, on the back of the rise, a pair of fire-wreathed boulders hurtled by overhead and slanted with a neighboring hill. The jolt from the impact nearly knocked you off your feet. Suddenly, less than a dozen yards from where you stand, something massive streaks past a blur of grey as the lower edge catching the earth, ploughing a broad furrow across the top of the knoll. Your eyes, which instinctively follow the soaring object as it flies towards the sea, open wide in the sunshine. You realize that it's just skimmed the top of the hill's entire tower of stone. Watch in horror as the stone tower smashes into a tall crack at the ocean's edge and shatters into smoldering fragments that rain down on the quaking ground far below. Low, rolling rumble surges through the knoll, nearly causing you to lose your footing. Several yards away, a jagged splint runs across the ground as a sharp sound of splintering stone reaches your ears, and a puff of black smoke emerges from the widening chasm, filling the air with a pungent odor of sulfur. Wow, this is some story. A volley of fiery boulders hurtled across the darkening sky, some plunging into the raging waters of the distant sea, while others strike the hills and plains that run up to meet the ocean's edge. The ground again quakes, and the massive chunks of stone, which appear to be part of the row battlement, slams into the earth less than 50 yards from where they stand. Somewhere far off, along dismal wail rises into the air, the chilling cry momentarily drowning out the reverberating din and destruction that surrounds you. Just as the mournful cry begins to trail off, a grim start at your back makes your blood run cold. You spin around and instinctively duck as a shadowy mass of fur and fangs lunge past, narrowly missing you in the vicious swipe of a set of long curved claws. Drawing yourself into a combat-ready stance, you struggle to ignore the fiery debris raining down all around your faceless and largely formless black terror again lunges at you. What is it? A shadow beast? The shadowy mass of fur emits a piercing shriek that leaves your ears ringing as it collapses into a writhing heap, and a violent tremor runs through the ground as the earth beneath you suddenly splits open, forming a wide, jagged chasm into which you hopelessly plunge. Before you draw your next breath, you again plummeting through the frigid black void, unable to determine a controlled direction of your increasingly rapid tumble. And as you spin through the icy gloom, the lucid image of the mountains blaze cascading into the wild oceans take form in your mind. Out of the raging sea, your vision is a rival heralded by massive tentacles, a snake out of the turbulent waters, rising an all-encompassing shadow in the shape of a clawed hand. What is it, a kraken? A rise of icy air surges past as the darkness through which you're falling abruptly dissolves, replaced by a stark wintry landscape. You suddenly realize you're standing in the knee-deep snow on the edge of the vast forest, which hangs an ominous leaden sky. A sharp cry on your left shatters what have been several moments of broken stillness, and you turn to find Temestlio bounding toward you across the top of the snow, his sword drawn. Look out, he shrieks, behind you! Heeding the Palobread warrior's frantic warning, you spin just in time to engage a pair of devourers lunging at you from the forest's edge. Death. Temestlio wraps your side just as the last of wolf creature slumps into the snow at your feet. The Palobread warrior, his knitted brow lending his brown face a particular fierce look, nods approvingly. You made it! He suddenly cries, looking up at you. I thought you were lost for good. Come to that, I thought I was lost for good. Well, I can tell you that we're... So shows off mid-sentence as he points to the left. To see what has unreservedly captured his attention, your eyes are converted by a strange, haunting sight. Trudging across the top of the snow, leaving in its wake no evidence of his passing, a ghostly company of 15 armed men, their shields and tabards, each bearing various insignias. The bearded men lead the group. Be back. we're back. The bearded man leading the group, the drawn expression on his blood-splattered face betraying a hopeless weariness, turns and raises right hand to you in a gesture of respect. Aruval is lost. Nearly 1,000 years ago, the small island realm of Aruval suffered a sudden and cataclysmic event of unknown origin that tore it asunder, causing it to crumble into the sea. No one present on the island survived its destruction. So it's like, Atlantis. Aruval, which has been located just over 100 miles off the northern coast of Theodon, was an ancient island state governed by a council of mages, whose white stone towers could be spotted from miles out to sea. Every few years, a wizard who ruled over Aruval would host a grand joust known as Tutlnog on the list of silver step atop the island's formidable southern cliffs. The greatest jousters and warriors from all across North Broadlands will make the arduous journey to Aruval to take part in the tournament, seeking to win the favour of its mage lords and capture one of the spectacular prizes presented to the contest top finishers. It was during 51st Tutlnog that an epic disaster struck Aruval, tearing the island apart and hurling its fragments into the raging waters of the Sundren. The exact nature of the calamity that befell Aruval is not known. Some would argue that a catastrophic mishap, sorry, my tongue, there's a problem with it, involved magic was responsible for the island's destruction, while others believe that the violent wrath of some natural phenomenon is more plausible explanation or trace of Aruval remains. These are ghost people from Aruval. Then as swiftly as they appear, the spectral fellowship fades from view. Temesliel tugs at your sleeve and points his sword at the spot where the ghostly companion and warriors vanishes. Something's not right. One path's gone. Where is it? They might have torn it down and moved it again, but I'm not so sure. As I said before, I can tell you that we're about to. In the instant, the sky darkens and the rumble of distant thunder reaches your ear. The shadow, deeper than night, with its ragged foremost edges resembling a cluster of clawed fingers, drapes itself over the snow-walled terrain. The Palobread warrior drops his sword and opens his mouth as if to scream, but you never hear his cry. Everything swiftly fades to black. Your eyes fly open and a myriad of shifting colors assails you, momentarily overwhelming your senses. As your sight comes into focus, you realize you've once again standing on a small clearing on the edge of the center buckle, directly behind several other villages and more prominent structures. They're no longer any sign of the heap of raven bone bricks with a tall arch that once formed. In fact, there's nothing to indicate that anything experienced here ever happened at all. What? And suddenly, you spot something lying in the grass a few feet to your right. Close examination reveals the object to be a flat black stone. You pick up this stone and discover, much to your astonishment, that it bears carvings on both sides. The flatter side of the stone engraved with a single word, Aruval. And as your eyes repeatedly pass over the word, you're reminded of the ghostly company you encountered in the catastrophic scene of destruction to which you bore witness after passing through the void beyond the portal. You flip over the stone and stare in disbelief at the carved image greets your eyes. It's Temesliel. The engraved new perfect likeness of the Palobread man stares back at you from the stone's slightly rounded face. Gazing down at Temesliel's image, you find yourself inexplicably transfixed by the sullen ferocity of his carded expression. Uncertain by the stone's significance or how it appeared here for you to find, you feel compelled to keep it safe and carefully tuck it away amongst your other possessions. Interesting. After taking a final look through the clearing, you return to the village center, still puzzling over the strange change event that began and ended in an innocuous grassy swath. As you stroll in the direction of the Stoneback Tavern, keen to spend the next small while with your feet toward the fire and tank it within you. Within reach, you pull out the flat back stone and again study its engravings. Wonder what, if anything, Temesliel and Aruval had to do with each other. Reach the Stoneback's door and slip into the tavern, content to temporarily spent all deeper musings with consideration of more imminent sort. Though presently unknown to you, a rift was opened in the eternal fabric that separates this world from the fathomless gloom of neverness. But the tears begin to appear, the spirits of those who so long ago perished in Aruval. Do this tear. So it relates Aruval has just appeared in the battlegrounds. An Iron Crown Isle. Interesting. So let's open some kind of other quest. Well, this is going to be a short one because I can't talk anymore. My tongue is killing me. I just must have bit it by mistake or something. While I was eating earlier today, because it hurts a lot to talk. And as this is a reading video, it's not good, right? So we'll do some more time in Hawk lore in the next future episodes. Hopefully it'll be done hurting by tomorrow and I can do some of them. Because I'm off. Yay, it's Christmas Eve. Woo! Well, not when you see this. It won't be Christmas Eve. That'll be about when I record it. So, thank you so much for hanging out. You know I'm going to say peace.